Welcome to episode 38 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guest, founder and lead consultant of Linden Air Consulting, Michelle Walker. Welcome to the 24-Hour Hustle Show. I'm your host, Anthony Freeze, and this is the show where we get the opportunity to sit down with amazing, accomplished guests and find out about their stories, their struggles, and also their success. If this is the very first time you're finding out about us, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell to make sure you get these notifications every single Friday at 12 p.m. But today we got special guest Michelle Walker on. It is a great opportunity to be able to have you on the show. I know whenever the first time we actually got a chance to sit down over a cup of coffee, the conversation was great. I loved it. I learned a lot of new things, and I feel like the things that you'll share today will definitely be insightful, informative, and definitely greatly beneficial to the people watching. So I definitely am glad to have you on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely. So for the people who don't know who you are yet, kind of just getting into the conversation here, what is it that you do with Linden Air Consulting? What is it? Why did you start it? And, give us a little bit of background on what that is.
Well, I started Linden Air Consulting based out of a need. When I was young, there were resources and things that weren't available to me. So what I do is I go in and I speak and help for people to become more accessible for people with disabilities, more specifically the deaf and hard of hearing population, but I also speak about other disability accessibility needs as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I think when we got together for coffee before, I think you told me you go to different businesses and try to educate them on this, a topic that a lot of people don't necessarily even talk about. You kind of educate them on people that may be hearing impaired and kind of help them with people that either have that challenge and try to kind of just educate them on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, people who are deaf or hard of hearing, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of take us a little bit of, the things that you do for that. I know you do some speaking as well. What has the process been like for you in starting this business and the time frame that you've been doing it?
I've been doing this for quite a few years now. So I started teaching children at the Boys and Girls Club in Carnegie about 2006. Mm-hmm. So I started teaching kids first. I feel like when we teach children at a young age, it helps them to become more aware as adults. So that's one reason why I started with the kids, and I just love children, reaching out to kids and to prevent bullying as well. Mm-hmm. So bullying is something that I had to deal with as a young child. So even as an adult, surprisingly. So I go in and I teach children at elementary schools with American Sign Language and disability clubs. I also go in as far as colleges. I've spoken at Pitt, and I've spoken with graduate medical students and teaching them how to be more understanding and aware when it comes to reaching families of children with disabilities. Mm-hmm.
And then, one of the things that I learned whenever we did get together, what is this device that you have around your neck?
It's interesting. I've been asked if I'm a spy. So, yeah, I'm not a spy.
Right.
So, basically, it's called a Compilot, and what it does is it has a loop. And this is more than just like a necklace. It's actually a loop, and it makes my hearing aid Bluetooth compatible. Mm-hmm. So the sound from my telephone will go directly into my hearing aid, mm-hmm. which enables me to not completely miss important phone call conversations mm-hmm. and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I'm not a spy.
Right. So it's good to know, just for people that who don't understand when people see that kind of a device or what it is and whatnot and things like that. But that's definitely good. So take us a little bit through your upbringing and as far as like some of the things that have inspired you, influenced you, maybe some good mentors or motivators in your life, just in your upbringing, and just give us your story of just how you were brought up.
Well, I'm one of 3 children. I have an older sister and a younger brother, and I am the only deaf person in my family. So it had its challenges. My parents did make an effort to not treat me any differently as far as being hard of hearing or deaf is concerned. So I had to adapt. One of the things that is common that usually happens is parents are steered towards one way or the other when it comes to a child who's deaf or hard of hearing. If they're unaware of the nuances of a child being deaf or hard of hearing, which most new parents aren't, the influence from outside sources can dictate which direction they go with their child, whether it be mainstream education or deaf school education. So one of the things that I do is I encourage parents to do their research and to discover on their own what they believe is best for their child, or not to be heavily influenced by outside sources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I've experienced.
Mm. And one of the things that I want to learn, just from your perspective, because this is an area that I don't know too much about, but this is definitely a great opportunity for me and other people to learn from your perspective what it was like growing up and your upbringing and things like that, and just your day-to-day life. There may be some things that may seem easy to us that, you may be a lot more advanced than we are. I think one of the things that we talked about before was like lip reading and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like you can read someone's lips from like across the room, and I can't do that. Mm-hmm. So what was it like just growing up, and what were some of the challenges that you faced in that upbringing of being hard of hearing?
Some of the challenges that I faced, some of the most obvious to me but may not be as obvious to others, are the background noises and things that people may not be aware of. A lot of times I've gone to events and parties or get-togethers, and I've had to excuse myself. Not because the people there were being rude, but just because people aren't always aware. And I don't think it's always intentional that these things happen. It's just that sometimes people aren't as aware of different things that a person who's deaf or hard of hearing may deal with. Simple things like the ventilation system in a restaurant can be loud and overbearing. The music can be loud and overbearing. People speaking to you, but their head is turned a different direction. So I rely very heavily upon lip reading. So if you were to talk to me and you're looking that way, away from me, it may be more difficult for me to understand what you're saying. When it comes to lip reading, a lot of people think that if someone can lip read, that they're catching everything. And that isn't so. You only get about 30% of what's being said through lip reading. So the rest is context clues, body language, and that type of stuff. So it can be challenging. And even with watching TV, I need the closed captioning. So it's frustrating when there aren't closed captioning on things, because you don't want to miss anything. You want to be completely able to engage and enjoy wherever you are and whatever you're doing. So, yeah.
And what was it like in school? I know you shared like some interesting stories of like your experience going through school and like some of the things with teachers and things like that. For people who don't know, if you could share that with the audience, what was that experience like as well?
Well, one of the experiences that sticks out the most for me would be, as an adult, it was surprising, because you think in an adult environment people would be a little more aware, but and it was in nursing school. So I went to nursing school, and one of the instructors happened to be a nurse, and it was in front of the class that I had given her a piece of equipment that was adaptive equipment that worked with my hearing aid so that I wouldn't miss vital information. As we know, nursing school, medical school, those types of things, you have to be able to get all the information. If you don't, you could potentially hurt someone. So she refused to wear the microphone in front of the entire class. And this is an adult. So I was taken aback. I was a little bit embarrassed, and I'm like, what can I do? And this was a pivotal moment for me. What can I do to make sure that no one else has to feel the way I felt that day in front of my class? And I'm thankful for my fellow classmates. They were understanding, and they also thought it was rude and disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I just think that it's just something that I basically removed myself. Of course, I started this because of something that happened to me. But the important thing to realize is, especially as an entrepreneur and a person who's pursuing something, is for me, it was to remove myself from the situation and the goals as far as what I'm doing. I really hope to have an impact, and not just about what goes on with me, but of course what's going to happen in the future for other children that are coming up after me, or other adults who may be going through something similar, and I want to help break the barrier and help other people to understand what it's like and what they can do to make things better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure on the statistic or anything like that, but how many people at a young age are maybe deaf or hard of hearing? If you know.
Quite a few million.
Okay.
A million have some type of deafness or hearing-related condition.
Yeah, I know.
37 million, I believe.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
And sometimes, and the reason why I ask because, I haven't encountered, I have, but not a ton, but it is good to understand someone that may be deaf or hard of hearing, just their perspective in their day-to-day life, and just having that empathy with them on trying to help them understand certain things, and just having them just live like everybody else, and just being able to experience the same exact experience like everyone else. And sometimes we may take that for granted, but for someone that is deaf or hard of hearing, we want to be able to treat them just like everyone else.
Right.
So that's why I love the conversation that we had, because it gave me an opportunity to deepen my perspective on something that I didn't necessarily have a greater understanding on. And that's why I feel like this conversation will definitely be great too, because a lot of people that may not experience or encounter this very often, maybe they'll think twice next time they encounter someone like that. So digging in a little bit more with the Lend a Ear consultant, what are maybe some of the challenges that you face maybe in the beginning whenever you initially started, in the beginning whenever you were just getting the ball rolling, and then how did you overcome some of those?
One of the things that stands out in my mind is I sent a proposal to a community resource group. And what happened was my proposal was declined. So, of course, I was a little disappointed. But then I realized, sometimes no isn't just no. Sometimes it's redirection that something better will be coming. So I took it in stride, and I just kept plugging away. And what happened is I called back. The follow-up is also extremely important. So I called back, and I was put in touch with someone else who worked for the same organization. And what happened is, it turned out that the lady that I spoke with, who's actually also a good friend now, her name is Brandy Lee, she was the person who was the contact person at this point, because the other person had left. So I was able to get contact with her at a later date. So it was over a year later, but it just goes to show that sometimes it's not supposed to happen when we think it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen when it is supposed to happen. So sometimes we just have to stay positive and keep plugging away, and whenever it's supposed to happen, it will. And it was even better because I believe that it was meant to be then. It wasn't meant to be. I may not have been ready at that particular time for the magnitude of what I was doing at the time when it came about.
Right. And what was the proposal for? Was this to kind of help educate that specific organization, or was this to speak, or what was that?
It was to host sign language classes for the community.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So I ended up doing that for 6 weeks, and it was awesome.
That's good stuff. I think that's one of the things that I want to learn as well. Just be able to learn. If I were to be able to learn sign language and be able to talk to someone that maybe, like I said, deaf or hard of hearing, that would expand my skills, and then I would feel like that would make that person, make them feel even more comfortable too. So we gotta get together one day.
Absolutely.
And you gotta teach me that sometime. So in doing that, you also speak as well.
Yes.
Take us through that experience, and what are some of the things that you like to talk about whenever you speak, and what was one of the first times that you did get the opportunity to speak?
Not too long ago, I spoke at the University of Pittsburgh, and it was a great experience. What I did was I went and spoke about disability, cultural competency, ways that the student physicians could better engage with the families of children with disabilities, and also to, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Just ways to be more open with families and more inclusive. Yes.
Yeah, I know, because I know that is one of the biggest things that you do. You do talk to the families, and you talk to them in the homes and things like that. So you actually go deep in their own space to be able to help them as well. How many people do you work with right now, as far as like maybe clients, and how many homes are you going to right now?
Right now, I'm not going into any homes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what I do is I work sometimes as a consultant on the side for business owners.
Oh, okay.
I can help them make sure their businesses are more inclusive.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the things that I do. Yeah.
So one of the things that always interests me, how have you been able to develop your business clientele? How have you been able to get these different opportunities and doors to open for you whenever you are working with these different business organizations?
Most of my contacts and clientele come from word of mouth.
Okay.
Word of mouth has been by far the most easiest way for people to share what I do, and I take that as a very big compliment.
And what would you say is maybe one of the biggest challenges or things that you're trying to help these organizations overcome, or what's the common thread of understanding that you're trying to help them understand just about this topic? Because like I said, this is definitely something that's new to me, and it's something that a lot of people don't talk about that very often.
Well, one of the things that I found that's kind of difficult is that sometimes people come into it with closed-mindedness. So one of the most important things is for people to be open-minded. Some of the things that may need to be done to make their business more inclusive may be minimal. It may not be something that, substantially expensive. It may not be something that is like overwhelming. It may be just something small that needs to be tweaked. So I suggest that people be more open-minded. If you're not open-minded, then you're not really.
You're closing it off.
You're closing it off, so you're not really open-minded to being inclusive. I think most people do want to help, and I also want to stress that inclusion isn't just about disability accommodations. You have to think bigger. You have to think about it being about an equitable way of life. So it's not just about this one simple thing. Just think about how inclusion can encompass someone's way of life to make it equitable. Yeah.
What are some of that inclusion that you feel like would be like some of those stepping stones that will help a lot?
Like I said, being open-minded. Allow the person who has a disability to speak for themselves. Don't go into it presuming incompetence. Assume competence unless you're told otherwise, because otherwise it's insulting. I've been presumed to be unintelligent because I'm deaf or hard of hearing, and I hope to prove people otherwise. But it's just difficult when people automatically assume that you don't know what's going on just because you happen to wear a hearing aid or deaf.
Right. I remember when we sat down, the biggest takeaway that I think that you said was, make your disadvantage your advantage.
Absolutely.
Or something along those lines. I was like, when you said that, woo, somebody get that on a T-shirt, quote card, something.
Yeah.
I was like, that was impactful.
People look at people who have disabilities that they are lacking or broken or that there's something wrong with them, when I strongly believe that's not the case. I believe that my deafness has empowered me in that there are things that I'm able to do that the average person may not be able to do. As far as body language, I read body language very well. Also, just different things. My other senses are more heightened. So I can smell danger. Say someone leaves a stove on. I'm more likely to smell that faster than someone who
has other senses,
hard of hearing. So, and I've actually had this happen. When I was young, I smelled the gas in the middle of the night and actually went downstairs and turned the stove off. So imagine what could have happened had I not smelled that in the middle of the night. So it definitely has its advantages. It has its advantages, and it also helped with compassion, because there's things that I can empathize with that other people may not be as readily able to empathize with. So it gives me an outlook that other people may not have. And I think that helps as far as my business and to be able to put myself in someone else's shoes and to encourage other people to do the same.
Absolutely. It definitely gives you a slight edge over us average folk because you like you said, it heightens the other senses as well, because some of the things like you just mentioned I may not have noticed, but like you said, with your heightened senses in different areas, you're able to identify those a lot quicker than the average person. So that's definitely a true statement. But definitely moving along a little bit further, where do you see yourself going in maybe in the future, maybe the next 2 to 5 years, whether it's in your business, life, or just things in general?
In the next 2 to 5 years, I plan to obviously expand the business and reach and teach more people. I plan to speak at more colleges and universities. I believe it's very imperative to talk to a lot of professionals before they hit the field. So I'd like to really speak with more college students in different areas and just help educate them on things that may not be so obvious in a book. You know, I still believe that there's definitely a need for a personal touch, for the personal communication with people. Not just, you know, you can have all of your book knowledge, and I greatly respect that, the dedication that it takes to get degrees and to go to college. However, there's also an aspect that you can't pick up in a book. So I think that's also just as important, you know. So yeah, I'd like to speak at more colleges. I love teaching children. I do teach at a summer camp now. So that's where I started. So of course I love reaching out to the children and teaching about anti-bullying and things of that nature to prevent bullying with kids. Yeah.
And then maybe for somebody that may be aspiring to maybe start their own business and things like that, what are maybe some challenges that you think that they may face, and what is some maybe good insight that you've just learned over time in running your business that may be good information for them, and whenever they're getting started, or maybe they're in the middle, or, you know, just in their journey of being in entrepreneurship?
Keep an open mind. Make sure you keep an open mind. There will be people who will ask you as an entrepreneur, when are you going to get a real job? If I could count the number of times I've heard that, you know, I'd be pretty wealthy. So there will be people who will challenge you. So you have to remember that you stand on the shoulders of giants, and that, you know, stand confident in what you know and whatever your niche is, and the rest will show itself. It will ebb and flow, you know. There'll be highs, and the highs are really great, and the lows can be really low. So you have to be resilient and able to withstand those things. So, and not only as a business owner, but within your own life, there will be challenges that may present themselves, and you have to be able to sidestep what's going on in your real life sometimes to propel things within your business. So, yeah. So despite personal things that I may be going through even now as we speak, I'm still able to compartmentalize, put it to the side, and concentrate on what we're doing here, and remember that the effect that this could have for other people. So you have to be able to prioritize and gauge those things. And also to remember to do your self-care. Self-care is extremely important. We can't pour from an empty cup. So you want to make sure that you're doing your self-care activities, whatever that may be, listening to music, reading, meeting up with friends, anything that, therapy, you know, there's great therapists that can help you to stay at your optimal mental health. I believe personally that your mental health is just as, if not more important than your body health. So I'd like to shout out Sharice Nance, Hand in Hand Counseling Service. She's awesome. And friends like Nicole Mans, who was on the show. She's an awesome support person for me personally. So, and also you want to find your tribe. You want to find your people. Don't worry about connecting with every single person. Every single person may not be for whatever your niche is, and that's okay. I had to learn that as well. In the beginning, I was trying to reach out to every single person. Well, some people aren't going to be into what you're doing or what your goal is to do. So your tribe will find you. You'll find your tribe. And those people, once you make that connection, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Yeah. It's funny whenever you were talking about that just now. That's what I'm experiencing right now, because in the beginning you do try to you want to reach out to any and everybody.
Absolutely.
You want to try to impact and influence everybody as much as possible. And that's good, but eventually it does start to narrow itself down to the people that truly do admire and are inspired by the work that you're doing. And and to your point, that definitely is a great feeling when you do start to build up that tribe, that feeling of community of people that you can rely on as either a support system or things you can bounce ideas off of, and just people that you can collaborate with. It's a great feeling for sure. And actually, that's how one of the reasons why how we were able to connect, because Nicole Mans was on the show before, and then
She's awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. She's amazing.
Oh, and I have her lip gloss on. So.
Shout
Nicole
out
Mans, Nikki'sMagicOne.com.
Shout out to Nikki Mans. And then
I try to support small business owners as much as possible.
Absolutely. And then just being able to connect with different people. You meet this person and you meet that person, and then you just keep going and going, and just connecting with the people that you're meant to connect with.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's definitely what's been able to happen with us. I definitely value the relationship and the things that you do. And I definitely look forward to seeing the work that you come out with in the future.
Thank you.
So as we get closer to wrapping up, where is a good place for people to connect with you, whether it's through your website, Facebook, email, whatever it may be? Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
I have a Facebook page, a London Air Consulting Facebook page, and I also have LondonAirConsulting.com. So you can find me there, or at Shell Defined, CHELLEDEAFINED, and that's on Twitter and on Instagram. So yeah, you can reach me those ways, and I'd be more than happy to help you become more inclusive.
Awesome, that's good stuff.
Yes.
And we would love to have somebody be able to incorporate that into what they're doing. And then lastly, what's a 24-hour challenge that you would propose to the audience that they can actually take action on within the next 24 hours of watching this episode?
I've been doing some thinking about this 24-hour challenge, and I just want people to step outside of themselves for a moment and think about one person, particularly a person who may have a child with a disability, like a mom or someone who has a child with a disability, or someone who works with kids with disabilities, and think of a small token that you can do or something that you can say to encourage them. Because I found that, and I have a child with a disability myself, so I found that a lot of times people who care for children with disabilities aren't always caring for themselves properly. So think of something positive you can say to someone, and most everyone knows someone who has a child with a disability or even has a disability themselves. Say something positive, tag them on Facebook and say, hey, how are you? Just say, hi, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to make you feel special today? Can we meet for a cup of coffee? Can I take you to dinner? Is there some signs you'd like me to learn? Would make it easier for us to communicate. What can I do to make your life a little bit better? So take it outside of yourself. Think about someone other than yourself, and encourage other people to do the same. And then challenge someone else.
Yeah.
Tag someone else in that post and challenge them to do the same.
Yeah, I like that challenge. That's a good one. Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Definitely, because that gets people doing more, and then the fact that you're going to give someone else the opportunity just to add value to them and make them feel special and valued, that I like that one a lot for sure.
Even a hug.
Yeah.
Hugs are awesome.
Yeah, they're free. Last time I checked.
And they're proven to raise your happy endorphins. So, all right now.
Absolutely.
Get the hugging.
Yeah, absolutely.
With permission.
Right.
With permission.
Right. Got to throw that out there.
We gotta put
Can't just be out there hugging out everybody.
Everybody's not huggers, so
right.
You got to ask first.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
But most people value hugs.
Yeah.
Mine are patented. They should be patented. I've been told.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciate you being on the
Absolutely.
show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I definitely love the information that you share and the perspective that you have. I value that a ton. I definitely value the work that you're doing and the mission that you're looking to accomplish. Definitely proud of the work that you're doing for sure.
Thank you. I don't want to be known as an inspiration. I want to be known as an impact.
That's right.
An influencer.
Right. I remember. Yeah, I remember you said that last time we talked. You want to be an impact and an influence. Absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of times people relate people with disabilities as an inspiration, kind of like pity, and we don't want to be pitied. You know. So I'd rather be known as an impact agent or an influencer.
There we go.
That's the greatest compliment for me personally.
All right. Well, you definitely are an impact agent.
As
That's
are you.
for sure. I appreciate
As are
that.
you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, now that we know what Michelle does with her 24 hours, I definitely want to know what you do with your 24 hours. Definitely make sure you comment and tag somebody below that you want to be able to impact, influence, and inspire and make them feel valued as well. Definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and we will see you on the next episode.